Hello, and today I'm going to talk about the Aero Pod. When combined with a speed sensor and power meter, the Aero Pod can tell you your CDA in real time while you're out riding your bike. It connects to a little hanger underneath your handlebars, and as it goes along, it measures the pressure, the wind pressure, your speed, and your air speed, and it compares it to your ground speed using your speed sensor, and then looks at how much power you're putting out to calculate your drag coefficient. So this is a very clever device which can be used, which is what I've been using for doing my aero testing. But one of the questions that I have is, how reliable is this for giving us results? How repeatable are the results that this produces? So today I'm going to present my reliability results. To do the reliability testing, I use exactly the same testing protocol that I do when I'm testing the drag coefficient difference for any item of equipment. But for the reliability testing, I kept all parameters the same for every run, so that I could compare the results that the Aero Pod produces when we don't make any changes to our equipment or our position. I kept the position the same. I tried to keep the same power, the same speed. I did 2 laps 3 times on my time trial bike, and I did 2 laps 3 times on my road bike, and between each set I took 1 lap recovery. The results from testing the reliability of the time trial bike showed that the CDA is pretty close when I don't change any parameters, and the repeatability seems at first to be pretty good. The first test had a CDA of 0.244, the second test 0.238, and the third test 0.235. Now that's quite a small difference on a percentage basis. There's only a 0.37% difference. But when we look at the watts that equates to, that can be about 9 watts difference compared to, for test 3 compared to test 1. And when you look at a 40k time trial, that can equate to about 42 seconds, which in that respect is quite a big time saving. When you look at the test, when you look at each lap of the 3 tests, you can see that the drag coefficient between each lap was pretty close again. But again, this can result in reasonably significant time differences when looking at a 40-kilometer time trial basis. On a different night, I also tested the reliability of the Aero Pod using my road bike. The reason I chose to do this was because in some ways it's easier to keep the same position on the road bike than it is on the time trial bike. From the results of the test, 2 of the tests came back with exactly the same CDA, and 1 of the runs had a slightly higher, about 4% higher CDA. So the test 1 and test 3 had a CDA of 0.38, and test 2 had a CDA of 0.395. That's about 4%. But again, when we look at the watts, that equates to about 12 watts, or 47 seconds over a 40-kilometer time trial. So with all this data, what can we conclude about the reliability of the Aero Pod? In my opinion, it seems to be pretty good. The Aero Pod will give you a good indication of what your drag coefficient is, and it's accurate enough to give you an indication of when you make changes, how your CDA will improve or decline accordingly. So you can go out and you can do your own tests, you can test your equipment, you can test different sets of wheels, and because the difference in that equipment should be relatively large, the Aero Pod is sensitive enough to show you what those changes do, how much of a difference that might impact. What these results also highlight is the importance of keeping your test parameters consistent. When you do your testing, the more tests you do, the more accurate your results will be. And also, you have to make sure that you keep everything the same between tests and only changing the one variable that you want to test. If you're diligent and thorough in your test protocols, the Aero Pod appears to be accurate enough to give you a good guidance about what equipment choices you should make or what positional choices you should make to improve. What I feel the Aero Pod might not be able to tell you is for very small differences, it would be very difficult for the AeroPod to pick up. I've seen it previously when I've tested the difference between having gloves or no gloves. The difference might be there, but the difference is so small, it gets hidden with the other variables we can't control. Slight differences in air pressure, slight differences in body position might compensate one way or another and mask out the difference that is demonstrated by your test. So the AeroPod is good, and it will help you a lot for finding out what your drag coefficient would be and giving you a good guide about how to improve your aerodynamics. But for very detailed, very fine tuning of your equipment, I don't think it's accurate enough to give you the right level of detail that you need. But it's a very good product. It gives you a good guidance. It gives you a good point to start from, and personally, I've benefited a lot from using this AeroPod. So all in all, it's a valuable piece of equipment for improving your time trialing. In my next video, I'm going to give a rundown of the AeroPod software, how you set it up, how easy it is to use, and I'll give a quick overview and summary, a quick review of the AeroPod and how you interface and get the data from it. Until next time, thanks, bye.